2,000 years ago, the Romans built the richest empire on earth and then destroyed it with the same financial mistakes we're making today. They understood something we've forgotten. Money is never neutral. It's a weapon, a promise, and a lie all at once. Rome rose and fell by a few unwritten rules about how wealth, debt, and power truly worked. Lessons learned not in schools, but in war, crisis, and collapse. Those rules still whisper through the modern world. At its height in the 2nd century after Christ, the Roman Empire stretched from the Atlantic to the Euphrates, ruling more than 60 million people under one law, one language, and one currency. Its economy pulsed with life. Grain from Egypt, glass from Syria, silk from China. Ports roared with trade, forums shimmered with gold, and citizens trusted their coins stamped with the emperor's face as eternal. The denarius was as reliable as today's dollar, until it wasn't. In the beginning, Roman money was real, silver and gold with weight and worth. When a Roman bought bread, he paid in metal mined and minted by the state. Value was tangible. Labor turned to coin. But as Rome expanded, its money became a weapon and then a curse. Wealth no longer came from productivity, but from conquest. New lands meant new slaves, mines, and taxes. War paid for itself, until it couldn't. When expansion stopped, illusion began. To sustain its promises, the empire borrowed, taxed, and tampered with currency, masking decline with accounting tricks. Emperors and generals grew rich while citizens drowned in debt, inflation, and corruption. Rome didn't collapse overnight. It slowly unraveled as trust vanished. Its wisest voices saw it coming. Cato the Elder warned that luxury would rot the republic from within. Cicero wrote that greed destroys a nation faster than invasion. Seneca said, "Wealth is the slave of the wise and the master of the fool." Marcus Aurelius reminded his people that fortune is never freedom, only temptation. Their moral decay was their economic policy. The paradox was brutal. The richer Rome became, the hungrier it grew. The empire turned into a machine of consumption, taxing provinces to pay armies, looting lands to fund debts, minting promises it couldn't keep. Every coin was a message more powerful than law. The emperor rules, the system endures, the story continues. But stories end, and the 5 money rules that built Rome would also predict its fall. Rule 1. Money is political. The Romans knew what modern economists deny. Money is never neutral. Every coin was a declaration of power, proof that the empire existed because the emperor said it did. Augustus, the first emperor, understood the psychology of currency better than anyone. After civil war, he rebuilt not with speeches but with silver, flooding the empire with coins bearing his face and the word pax, peace. Each purchase reminded citizens who restored order. Nero, trying to erase the memory of the Great Fire, minted images of abundance, temples rebuilt, cornucopias overflowing, propaganda you could spend. Trajan used coins as military press releases, showing conquered kings at his feet. Every denarius became a pocket-sized promise of prosperity. Yet, beneath the shine, the illusion deepened. Coins no longer represented wealth. They manufactured it. The emperor's face wasn't a guarantee of value, but a reminder of obedience. Whoever controlled the mint controlled the narrative. 2,000 years later, little has changed. In God We Trust replaced Divine Augustus. Central banks replaced emperors, but the performance remains. When modern leaders print money or stamp their own symbols on it, it isn't nostalgia, it's ownership. The Romans already knew. Money is propaganda disguised as prosperity. Rule 2. Debt is power. Rome ran on credit. Farmers borrowed to plant crops, merchants borrowed to sail, generals borrowed to raise armies. Debt was not a flaw in the system. It was the system. But it came with chains. Default meant losing property, freedom, even family. The Latin obligatio meant both debt and bond. Obligation was captivity. The elite discovered that lending could control a population more efficiently than legions. Keep citizens owing, and they'll keep obeying. By the time of Julius Caesar, the Republic was suffocating under debt. Interest soared, estates were mortgaged, and families sold their children into slavery. Caesar saw an opening: cancel part of the debt, not out of mercy but strategy. It won him the crowd. Later, emperors used debt the way modern leaders use stimulus: to buy loyalty, delay collapse, and stretch illusion for one more year. Rome didn't have a debt crisis. It had a dependency crisis. Today, we call it credit expansion instead of usury, consumer finance instead of servitude. We mortgage our futures to chase ownership that never truly arrives. The Romans mistook debt for opportunity, and so do we. Their creditors wore togas, ours wear suits. Rule 3. Luxury is a virus. Rome began with simplicity and ended with spectacle. In the early republic, wealth meant land and virtue. Cincinnatus worked his own farm and wore rough wool. Luxury was shameful, restricted by law. But conquest corrupted restraint. Victorious generals looted Greece and Egypt, flooding Rome with art, jewels, and slaves. The rich built marble villas, held endless feasts, roasted peacocks for sport, and competed in extravagance. Cato the Elder called luxury a sickness eating the bones of the Republic. By the 1st century, thrift was dead. Wealth became display, and vanity spread to the masses. Silk from China, spices from India, perfume from Arabia, Rome's gold poured east faster than conquest could replace it. The empire bled not from war, but indulgence. Seneca warned that poverty is not lack of money, but lack of desire, yet no one listened. When comfort becomes culture, discipline disappears. Rome's downfall began not with invasion, but appetite. Once luxury becomes identity, collapse becomes inevitable. Sound familiar? Their marble and silk have become our brands and screens. The difference is lighting. Rule 4. Inflation destroys empires. If debt was Rome's addiction, inflation was its overdose. For centuries, the denarius, small silver stamped with an emperor's face, was the most trusted currency in the world. It paid soldiers, built roads, and united the provinces. But when conquests stopped paying for themselves, the numbers no longer added up. Armies demanded wages, bureaucrats wanted salaries, citizens wanted bread. The empire spent more than it earned, so emperors cheated. Nero diluted the silver content by 10%. Caracalla made it worse. By Diocletian's reign, the denarius held barely a trace of silver. Prices soared, merchants refused coins, soldiers demanded payment in gold or goods, and savings evaporated. Inflation didn't just raise prices, it broke faith. To stop the panic, Diocletian tried to freeze prices by law. The result was disaster: hoarding, black markets, executions. The state replaced trust with fear, the last phase before collapse. We tell ourselves we're smarter now. We don't clip silver. We print digital currency from thin air. But the trick is the same illusion, that multiplying symbols multiplies wealth. It never has. It only weakens meaning. Rule 5. When faith in money dies, so does power. By the 4th century, Rome's monetary system was finished. The denarius was worthless. Taxes were collected in grain, soldiers paid in food or land, and trade shrank to barter. The empire didn't run out of money. It ran out of belief. Because money is just a shared story. This coin, this note, this number means something. When that belief dissolves, power dissolves with it. The barbarians didn't destroy Rome, they stepped into the vacuum that inflation left behind. Civilizations rarely die by invasion, they die by erosion. Not with swords, but with spreadsheets. When people lose faith in the system, they stop defending it. The Romans believed money tested character. Cato said it, Seneca taught it, Marcus Aurelius lived it. They knew that when a civilization worships wealth, it becomes its slave. That's the truth we've forgotten. We've built an economy that confuses credit with creation, consumption with culture, speculation with progress. We praise billionaires and technocrats as if they were saviors instead of symptoms. Each time we call it innovation, Rome laughs from its grave. They already ran this experiment. They built the world's greatest empire, debased its currency, drowned in debt, and called it destiny. And when it collapsed, they blamed everyone but themselves. History doesn't repeat. It improvises with new costumes. The Romans wore togas. We wear suits. The denarius became the dollar, and the story hasn't changed. Money isn't just currency. It's character. Once a society forgets that, collapse stops being a question of if and becomes a matter of when. If this gave you a new perspective, subscribe and keep watching, because history doesn't whisper. It warns.